Welcome to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Breitman here with my rapid reaction minutes after Rutgers became bowl eligible for the first time since 2014 with a dominant 31-14 victory over Indiana. They did it the way they basically did it the way they've gotten here, right? They dominated in the run game. They dominated defensively. They played complementary football. Special teams was big once again today. And they just lulled Indiana to sleep in that second half. It wasn't pretty at times. I didn't expect it to be, but this is now the sixth game that Rutgers has won in which they've been favored to win this season. So first of all, just the fact that they've been favored 6 times is kind of mind-boggling, but the fact that they've actually won all 6 of them and 5 by double digits, this is what progress looks like, folks. This is a significant step forward. I know some people, want them to do more. I know, there were some comments again, Gavin Wimsatt. Yes, he struggled with accuracy at times in this game again, but let's give our hats off to him in terms of the run game. He was dominant today. This was the type of run performance from Wimsatt that we've been hoping for. And Rutgers really leaned into it today. Kyle Monungai with another 100-yard outing as well. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry. I think it was 108 yards, but Wimsatt, 3 rushing touchdowns. He obviously had 2 1-yard touchdowns, to finish off drives. But that 80-yard run was the backbreaker. It was the dagger. He ran Rutgers to bowl eligibility with that 80-yard run. Finally got off the edge. They've been running the RPO. He hasn't really held it a lot. He's handed it off most of the time when those opportunities have presented themselves. He finally got off the edge, got out into open space, and just made plays with his legs. And it was a tremendous run. It was a backbreaker for Indiana. It set the tone. It didn't set the tone of the fourth quarter that there was no comeback coming. It was also tied 14-14 when special teams struck again, and Lucas muffed the punt. Robert Longerbeam, again, he had 3 pass-up breakups in this game. He got the fumble recovery. Rutgers did not look great in execution in that opportunity, but they got the field goal. They had the lead. And then you come out the third quarter, and that was a masterclass in just running it down their throats. But the key play on that drive was Wimsatt completion to Christian Dremel that kept the live going. 4th and 4, I think he got an 8-yard reception, and they ended up scoring the touchdown, and that set the tone for the second half, gave them a 24-14 lead, and the defense did their job. They never let Indiana get back into it, and then that back-breaking 80-yard touchdown by Wimsatt. So couple things just in terms of addressing his accuracy. I've harped on this before, and I do feel like it was a factor, and maybe people don't want to take it into account, but his first 3 or 4 passes were pretty good. There were a couple drops there, but Rutgers ran the ball 23 out of the first 27 plays. So I just think that, and I understand why, and it worked, right? In the grand scheme of things, it worked. It dominated Indiana on the ground. It was the most rushing yards they've had in a Big Ten game ever. Since joining the conference, it was 276 rushing yards. They averaged, 5 yards per carry. That's really impressive for sure. And, so it makes sense, right? They obviously thought that they could run it down Indiana's throats, and they did. But you have to account for the fact that Wimsatt never really had an opportunity to get into rhythm. So, when you run the ball 23 out of the first 27 plays, and then all of a sudden you're throwing in multiple situations, it is tough, and his accuracy suffered. He is inaccurate overall, but it doesn't help matters when he had to make some big throws. But again, going back to that third quarter, he made that huge 4th down conversion, finding Dremel, who has been the most reliable, consistent receiver that Rutgers has had this year. So that's a positive. And again, his presence in the run game, his dynamic, that 80-yard run is now going to be in every defensive coordinator's film when they prepare for Rutgers, and that's just going to make them that much more harder to prepare for. It's also something that I hope they work on in the bye week in terms of looking to get Wimsatt off the edge more in the run game. It could really add a wrinkle to this offense that they haven't utilized that much in the first half. So 6-2, it's it's unbelievable in the sense of all the question marks that this team had going into the season. And we said, listen, you start 3-0, you got a shot at bowl eligibility before the bye week. And they did it. They won every game they were favored to win. They won every game on paper that was either a 50-50 matchup or a game you said they have to have. They did it. It came through every single time. And the fact that Schiano has preached complementary football so much, And that's the way they're winning. It's not glamorous. It's not, the offense isn't anything in terms of like cutting edge or, like going back to 2008 with Teal, Britt, Ray Rice, Underwood, the first offense ever to have a 3,000-yard passer, 2,000-yard rusher, and 2,000-yard receivers, first ever in college football, 2008. That's not this offense. But Kirk Ciarrocca has gotten enough out of Wimsatt. He's gotten enough out of the offensive line. Pat Flaherty's done a great job. The starting lineup again today, you had Holland Pearson, left tackle. You had Brian Felter, left guard. Zelinkas at center, and then you had Dunlap at his natural position at right guard, and then Reggie Sutton, the story of the year, back at right tackle. And it's allowed this team to have some stability now, and they did a pretty good job, and they were dominant in the run game, and it's just great to see that sack wise, Wimsatt has been kept pretty off the ground in terms of that. So. There are tangible points that you can point to that this team has made significant progress. I thought the receiving core overall for the first 8 games has been pretty solid, better than expected based on all the question marks coming in. Obviously, not a lot of stats today, and only actually 2 receivers caught a ball. Dremel had 2 catches for 14 yards, Jaquay Jackson 8. Jashawn Benjamin had probably the catch of the game, 11-yard catch, and then Johnny Langan had a 6-yard reception. So, it was all run all day. Sam Brown also got 9 carries, 31 yards. So it was good to see him get some run today. Gavin Wimsatt just 5 of 12, 39 yards. But again, no turnovers. No turnovers. Rutgers is now 12-1 without committing a turnover since 2020, since Schiano has returned. The defense allowed Indiana to only have 279 yards, 37-38 time of possession today. Are you kidding me? That's insane. 38 minutes of time of possession. It was the formula that Rutgers has been using, and it's what got them there to be in this position to win 6 games, and they executed it to pretty much perfection again today. Obviously, that 4th down conversion that they failed in the second quarter, and then Indiana went down and tied it 14-14. I tweeted this earlier in the game. I think the biggest takeaway of this team is the fact that they respond to adversity. And that is the biggest thing. When you get to 6-2 and you win all the games you're supposed to, that has to happen. And Rutgers has done that. When they allowed a touchdown from Indiana to start the game, second game in a row that they've allowed the opposition to score a touchdown, they didn't buckle. What did they do? They went down and they delivered a 15-play touchdown drive. And then they took the lead with a special teams block. Shout out to Shaquan Loyal, and Eric Rogers ran it in. So they just made plays. Then Indiana gets the momentum back. They go down, they score a touchdown. What do? They capitalize on a mistake. They minimize their own mistakes. They capitalize on mistakes of their opponents. They get that fumble recovery on the muff punt. And then, they only get a field goal there, but they have the ball to start the second half, and they go out and they execute a great drive once again. They eat clock, they run it down their throats, and they score. This team has heart. This team has resiliency. This team has leadership. These are all really important qualities in terms of this program taking a step forward, and they officially have now. It's undeniable. 6 wins, bowl eligibility. I did not think it would happen this year, and for it to happen this early in the season, with every opportunity they had to do it before bowl eligibility, before the bye week, they did it. They did it. And how many times in Rutgers football history can you say every time they had an opportunity to do something positive, they actually did it? Yes, they could have potentially won the Wisconsin game. They could have been closer with Michigan. But you know what? They were double-digit dogs on the road in both of those games. And you know what? The program isn't there yet. They're just not. But you have to walk before you can run. And winning these games in the manner in which they have, in a sustainable way, right? They're not getting lucky. They're not generating kind of fluky big plays. Yes, they're getting some special teams breaks, but you make your breaks too. And the special teams has been, statistically, they don't look that much better than last year, but I think they're a lot better just in terms of their coverage, and the way they've been able to make big plays the last 2 weeks has been huge for them. And, shout out to Fooch on the radio call, had said after they were able to do the scoop and score on that blocked punt by Loyal, that was something that ate Schiano up after last season when they lost to Nebraska by 1 point, and they blocked a punt and were unable to convert it for a touchdown. And then the drive stalled and they got 0 points on it. And that ate at him. And that was a big focal point for him in this offseason with the team. And the fact that they were able to do that in this game is another sign of this team being able to execute in a manner they hadn't been able to do in years. And certainly since Schiano's been back. This is definitely the most talent, the deepest, the best leadership that Schiano's had since returning year 4, and we're seeing the results we all hoped. So you go into a bye week now, and this is a beautiful thing because now they're going to get positive vibes for 2 weeks in terms of the team is bought in. You're going an extra month now, so you're kind of at the halfway point in calendar wise. You're 2 months, a little under 2 months in. You're going to be playing probably past Christmas now, depending on what bowl game they get into. And now you have 2 weeks to prepare for the biggest game of your season against Ohio State at home. Be interesting to see. They might get that NBC night game with Ohio State coming to Piscataway now. Rutgers 6-2. Ohio State, I don't even know. I got to look it up right now, real time. Did they beat Penn State today? Why is this going so slow? Well, at any rate, them going to Ohio State, it's going to be a big time game for them. Oh, they won 20-12. So Ohio State, big win over Penn State today. Who do they play next week? Oh, they host. They're at Wisconsin. That actually is the NBC night game next week. So we'll see what happens there. But Ohio State could be undefeated coming to Piscataway. Rutgers 6-2, 3-2 in the Big Ten. You obviously assure yourselves now you're not going to finish below Michigan State and Indiana in the standings. So worst case, trying 5th place. Hopefully better than that. That Maryland game looms and the closing regular season game on Thanksgiving weekend. But you just set yourself up now for a lot of great press. They're going to be a national story now hosting Ohio State in 2 weeks. It's going to get a lot of attention. There's going to be a lot of great publicity on the national scale now. This is huge for the program, absolutely huge for recruiting, for everything. Just showing that, Schiano coming back, whether you liked it or not, whether you had questions, whether you still have concerns or you're still not happy, the bottom line is Schiano has moved the program forward. He took over. I don't think it's arguably, but I guess you technically could say arguably worst FBS team in college football 4 years ago, and they're going to a bowl, and they've done it before Halloween. It's a great story. It's what we all hoped going into the year. It's something that is significant in the long-term growth of this program and the tenure of Schiano 2.0. However it ends now, you will always point back to this season and this accomplishment. And hopefully, right, you got 4 regular season games left. You're going to have the bowl game now. You only need 1 win now to clinch a winning season for the first time in 9 years. So you get bowl eligibility. Getting that winning season, you can't – there is no argument now that Schiano coming back is a disaster or a complete failure. Maybe he won't get them to – over the hump in terms of competing for Big Ten titles, right? Hopefully this starts a run now of regular bowl game appearances. But regardless of what happens now, this season marks a point where the program took a major step forward, and they're going to have momentum now in the offseason. Now, you don't want to lose out on the season. You don't want to lose your last 4 regular season games. You don't want to lose the bowl game. And Rutgers needs to step up, and they need to continue to improve to not allow that to happen. Ohio State's going to be very difficult, but now you're going to have a chance to go to Iowa. You're going to be 6-3 at worst, 3-3 in the Big Ten, and you're going to have a chance in that game. And you're winning in a way that you can win that game by not making mistakes, by having dominant defense and being able to run. Now, Iowa has a great defense too, but we know they have the worst offense in college football. You're going to have a chance in that game. Then you go to Penn State. It's going to be very difficult. And then you're going to host Maryland at home. So that's 2 kind of games that you could see Rutgers potentially win. Now, if they won both of those games, that would be skipping steps in the process in terms of getting to 8 wins this season. That would be phenomenal. If they split and they get one of those 2, that would be great as well. And then you go to the bowl game knowing you're going to have a winning season no matter what. I mean, if Rutgers can win 8 games this year, if they could win 3 out of the last 5 between Iowa, Maryland, and a bowl game, win 2 of those 3, that would be a significant accomplishment, even more on top of what they've done. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because we need to just celebrate this. This is huge. We're now going into a bye week. Rutgers is 6-2 and 3-2 in the Big Ten. Michigan State's a disaster. Northwestern's a disaster. Rutgers easily beat those teams. Indiana is probably going to fire Tom Allen after the season. Like, think about the programs that Rutgers was behind before Schiano got here. And even when Schiano was here for the first couple of years, they lost at Northwestern. They lost to Indiana. They lost a couple of times to Michigan State. Michigan State, when Rutgers joined the Big Ten, was one of the best teams in the country. So this program has taken steps forward. All the idiots out there that want to say Rutgers is the laughing stock, and I saw tweets this week from other Big Ten fan bases. They're absolute idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not following along. They're in denial. And the bottom line is Rutgers has moved their way now into a middle of the pack Big Ten team. Most power rankings, they're 6th, 7th, maybe 8th or 9th, but I've seen them as high as even 5th this past week. So Schiano has restored credibility to this program. This is a program that is not beating themselves, and they're winning games they're supposed to win. And that is a major step forward. And that's something to certainly celebrate going into this bye week. Thank you so much for listening and watching once again. This is a great day, and you can't be happier for these players that have invested so much into the program over the years. Deion Jennings on the radio, you could just hear the relief in his voice and how much this meant to them. It's awesome. It's awesome for these longtime players, and I'll write plenty about this in the week to come. But it's an awesome feeling, and for longtime Rutgers fans, this is a great day. So enjoy it, savor it. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again. Check out all my post-game coverage and more, including hoops at Scarlet Faithful at thescarletfaithful.com. If you don't put the in front of it, you're going to go to something weird, and we can talk about that later. It's thescarletfaithful.com, and I'm on Twitter at Aaron_Breitman, YouTube, all that. Go are you.